Welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. And I'm excited because guess what, guys? This is the first time in nearly 4 months, something around there, 4 or 5 months, that we have done 2 episodes in 1 week. Wow, look at us go. Yeah, it's fun. I was prepping and I was like, oh man, like I get to do 2 of these because I had some thoughts on what's gonna happen this week, and I remembered, oh yeah, I already did the first show to go through last week, and now I get to do the one that's leading up to this week. So, I'm definitely very excited about hopefully I don't know, how would I put this? I'm excited about the 2 shows a week, and I hope that you guys are too. Please let me know in the comments or anything if there's too much or not enough. I'm very open, like I said, to constructive criticism, and I would love to know, as we head into, technically this is season 2 of Talking TSM, then yeah, I just want to know what you guys want me to continue to work on. I've been trying to work on a couple different things. You'll even notice that the opening was a little bit softer. For those of you, there was a comment about that, and it was something I wondered, but I thought some people really liked the loud music, but maybe others don't. I get it 100%, so I tried to find a little bit of a more even ground. This one might have been even a little too soft, but I'm figuring out the levels. I'm not an audio major person, so kind of figuring that out. But with that, let's just there's not a whole lot else to say. Let's just jump right into it. We're gonna discuss today, at least. We're gonna go into talking about a couple different things that have been going on. We'll start with the new queue for pro players, and then we will head into our 2 games for this weekend, and kind of just my overall expectations for where we're at and how we can continue to move forward as we head into week 2 after less than stellar 0-2 week 1. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Champions Queue. Now, I don't have anything to show here really other than the fact that we're gonna just talk about my general thoughts on Champions Queue and how I hope that this will work. So this one's gonna be, for those of you on video, a lot more of my face, which I know you all love so much. Sorry, it's hard for me to say that with the straight face. Said face a couple times. Regardless, moving on. Champions Queue. So for those of you who don't know, Champions Queue was kind of the brainchild, I believe, of really Bjergsen, Darshan, and Core JJ, some of the big members of the Players Association for the LCS players. And this came from in-house games that had been run through them and for them for a while, where they were just grabbing the top level players that they could, and they were basically creating their own solo queue, which everybody knows here in North America. Solo queue is, well, we'll just straight up say it's terrible. It's not a fun experience, especially for those at the highest level. Way too many people who are toxic, who are not serious about the game, who will ruin other games if they don't get things the way that they like it, who are willing to give up on games pretty much as soon as one thing goes awry. And it's truly a pretty problematic thing, because it is mired so many great potential players, and it has not allowed our talent to get better outside of scrimming each other and playing against each other. So the idea behind Champions Queue is that all the best players in North America, for right now, only those on the West Coast, will play on very low ping servers that include, pro, challenger, grandmaster, master, and maybe high diamond. I know for sure challenger, grandmaster, and master players will all be playing in these queues together. And it's basically kind of like you apply for it and get invited to it. And there's a very, very low tolerance for toxicity, AFKs, leaving games, all that kind of stuff. And, for these pro players who, for the longest time, you watch these streams, right? I know I watched, Bjergs and Doublelifts and Spikas and little Kaiduos and Shinyis and multitude of TSM players specifically in the past. And, they'd have to play other games in between their queue times because games took so long. Whereas in this one, there are specific times given for people to jump on and to play, and it's based around pro scrims and just days when the pros are playing as well. And this system allows for these players to just get right into games. I saw Blaze Olive, tweeting about. He was like, "This is the most enjoyable solo queue experience." Essentially, this is me paraphrasing his tweets. That he's had in a very long time. He was getting into games instantly. I saw, different games that were going late into the game where teams were coming back. These some players are standing out, some are not. There's even money involved for the top players and different things that are involved in it. There's multiple splits within a split, within a season. There's ways for people to climb a ladder that is different than the solo queue experience. And this sounds like an extremely good way to allow our pro players, to allow TSM members to come in and play the best of the best and to challenge each other and to get better. Because the reality is if this region is so toxic and so unable to work with each other in a progressive, in a progressive way to make each other better, then weed that out. There will be, and the thing is like, now there's going to be something to work towards for all these players, including our guys in TSM and Academy and Amateur when we have those players too, right? Like they're all going to be able to play in this, in this new solo queue for just the top rated players and potential pros. And at first I was really sad about, all the other systems that had been put in place kind of getting pushed aside to a certain degree for this and in favor of this and the new way that they're doing Academy and Amateur combining. But I think the LCS is kind of on its way. I think they're making a lot of really good decisions, and I think Champions Queue is going to be one of those really good decisions. I'm very interested. Now I care about watching some of these pros play because we'll get to see, what new metas are coming out, and you're going to see new champion picks, and you're going to be seeing, teammates playing teammates and teammates playing together, right? And I think this is going to just like level up the region in a pretty serious and significant way, especially for those who are on the West Coast. Now, I know the goal is eventually to have it spread throughout the rest of the United States. I'm sure they're working on, providing the lowest ping possible for players who are not on the West Coast. And this is just a start, and I would say that's probably the biggest negative is that if you don't live on the West Coast, probably specifically in California, then you don't really have great access to this Champions Queue. And I do see that as probably the biggest negative of all. But, for young players who are coming up, they have something to shoot for. It's not just, oh, I reached Challenger. Like, cool, congratulations. Now when you reach, a certain level, you're able to apply and get into this new solo queue that will test your skills against the best of the best on a consistent basis, and allow you to even be scouted, because I'm sure that, every team in North America, and there are probably some LEC teams, maybe some, I doubt LPL or LCK, but maybe some LEC teams, and potentially even some minor regions, TCL, LLA, Brazil, CB LOL, like that are probably going to be looking at some of these players, Osh, as well as players to pick up. And I know that if I was running an org in the LCS, I would have scouts watching every single game that they can. I'd split it up and say, hey, there are 3 of you. You guys watch every game that you can, and you're going to tell me what champions are getting picked, who's playing well, and how, who's working well together. And I think by doing this, it will allow the LCS to seriously level up. Not just like, oh, we're going to take the right step. Like, no, like these players are going to get better. The only, the whole thing of iron sharpens iron is, I know, a more religious thing, but I do think that the mindset of, for you to get stronger, the only way you can do that is to challenge yourself against the other great players. And this Champions Queue is going to be awesome. And as TSM fans, we should love this. Shinyi and Kaido are going to be able to experience solo queue in a very different way than, Sven and Bjergsen when they came over, and Mithy and even Broken Blade, right? All these players internationally who've come out and over to TSM have only experienced terrible solo queue. Now things have changed, and these young players are going to have the opportunity to truly challenge themselves. And I believe every TSM player, except for maybe Huni, I don't remember seeing a game with Huni. I'm sure he has played one. But I know Spica, Kaido, Tactical, and Shinyi have all already started playing in Champions Queue. And I don't have like a breakdown of how they've done. I haven't really started looking yet. But I will keep you guys up to date if I see interesting things or, see different aspects of Champions Queue that I think is going to be relevant to TSM. But the reason I bring this up is, our players are going to be streaming it. We can watch these games that are being played, and we can look for our younger talent and see how they're doing in a serious way. Like it's just kind of like back in the day for older League of Legends players, the top level players used to have their games be able to be spectated in the client. Like it would show you the top level players, for like, I think it would be like 5 games or something at the most recent games going on. And you could go and spectate those games. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And then they kind of took that away, and, streaming obviously became the bigger the bigger thing. But there's a Twitter account called, I think it's like Champions Queue Update or something like that, that actually will post, who's playing and, who's streaming so you can watch these games. I highly suggest you go watch. If you are a diehard TSM fan, you're looking for more TSM content, our boys are out there playing. I know the Academy guys. I've seen them all over the place. Takeover's been playing, plenty of games. Instinct's been playing plenty of games. I want to say, who else? I want to say Hyper was playing some games too. So, again, this is, I think, a really great opportunity for us as TSM fans to see our younger players growing, and hopefully, maybe even catch some players that might be on our amateur team once that gets announced here in the summer. So really cool aspect. Very excited. Continuing to level up the region. I talked about it on Tuesday's podcast. And I think I saw Travis Gafford maybe tweeted this. Somebody tweeted this, where they said, week 1 was one of the most enjoyable weekends of LCS in a long time. I could not agree more. Like, this league is changing, evolving, adapting, and getting better, and I love it. It's just going to make us better. It means that sometime in my lifetime we may have a chance at winning Worlds for NA. and I'm not laughing because I genuinely believe that that's going to happen. I just laugh because we haven't had a chance in such a very long time. So very excited. Please go check it out. Let me know in the comments below, too, what your thoughts are, who you've been watching, and who might be some interesting players for TSM Amateur to pick up, too. Because I'd love to go check out some of their games so you guys can tell me. With that, though, the most important part. Week 2 of the LCS will be beginning here in 2 days from when this is posted. We have FlyQuest first. And yes, FlyQuest are surprisingly, I believe, 2-0. Yeah, they are one of 4 teams that are 2-0. Funny enough, only 2 teams in the league are 1-1, and I believe it's two of the best teams in the LCS, Evil Geniuses and Liquid. And the funny thing is that they played each other already, I believe, right? Yeah, I think so. Something like that. No, maybe not. Maybe not. I know 100 Thieves be one of them. I don't know. Sorry. Brain farting. Ignore that. But regardless, we're one of 4 0-2 teams, including one of the teams that we'll be playing this week. But we'll be playing a 2-0 team and an 0-2 team. The crazy part is FlyQuest is one of those 2-0 teams. And they're interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Let's kind of just dive into this. So I think our advantages start with Huni, Spica, and Kaido. The reason being that Kumo literally just played Smite supports in the top lane for the first weekend of the LCS. I think that took a lot of people by surprise. He brought out the Janna in the first game, and then that got banned. He brought out the Karma, did basically the exact same thing. He just sacked top lane and went around helping the jungler, as supports generally do. He was basically just a second support, which to me screams that they understand that Kumo is either, and it feels like this is just going to be his life probably for the foreseeable future. This man is either going to be on tank duty or support duty. I don't think we'll really see him carry. And I think they understand that that's because maybe this style fits him better. I don't know if it's going to stay around as it is right now. I really don't know if we're going to be seeing Smite top laners, support Smite top laners for a very long time. But, basically I think they hit just level 2 or level 3, and then they just go and they roam from there on out. Even beside that, if they were to pull that out, Huni is a much better player than Kumo. There is no doubt in my mind that he could push this team, push a lot harder than and make FlyQuest pay for just leaving the top lane. Huni is very aggressive. And I think the second that he would see Kumo literally anywhere other than top lane, he would push that all the way in and get that tower down, before the tower plating even drops. I think, TSM likes to play through top anyways, so it would be a very interesting decision, in my opinion, for FlyQuest to play this way, considering how much more of an advantage we have in the top side and the ability and willingness to sack bot lane if necessary to play through Huni anyways. And if you get Huni fed, he will carry. He will not make the same mistakes that happened against Golden Guardians and CLG. These are two of the lower teams currently in the LCS. I think CLG will continue to stay that way. I don't know that Golden Guardians will. I think they just need more time like we do. But, regardless, FlyQuest took advantage of two teams that are not all that great. I think that we're better than them. I think we'll know how to punish them. And to be honest, Huni is definitely better than Jenkins. I don't know about Licorice as much. And Licorice got fed and played pretty well in their game. He I think made some questionable decisions, but especially in the late game, the Braum wall does a lot more to Gwen than I realized. I didn't even think about the fact that it could literally just eat the entire Gwen ult. So TSM, and if you're listening to this and for some reason you haven't thought of it, you guys are pretty smart, so I trust that you have. I imagine that you could pick Braum pretty often for Shinyi and make it so that Gwen is not as much of an issue, since we struggle against her. Just saying. I will say this too, if Kumo, and I want to, and the reason I'm focusing on this advantage is because I do think that it is very important. Okay, FlyQuest seems almost hellbent on using and abusing this strategy that has taken the LCS by storm, or that's taken really solo queue even by storm. If TSM see this, then what they need to do is they need to pick something for Huni that is going to allow him to really take advantage of the fact that he's just not going to have somebody there and somebody who can wave clear very quickly. Like, I honestly wouldn't even be upset with something like a Lucian or a Rumble, because here's the reality. Like, I don't care if they're super meta or not. What I care about is, can they take this massive CS and gold advantage that they're going to have and translate it? So I don't want to see him on something that's just like a poke Jace, right? Like, I know he can carry on Jace. I know that Jace can burn down towers, but we saw, like, the coordination and everything wasn't there. I don't want to see him just poke. I want to see him, be able to have massive impacts in fights to be the carry. Again, yes, Jace can do that, but Jace is more of a sit back, try to hit some Qs. Now I'm talking about, like, you give Huni his Rumble and you give him the advantage of just being able to free farm top lane. He's going to come out of that and hit ults that are going to melt whatever support is out there and whatever other squishy members that they're going to have. Because they have been. I mean, you look at their drafts and it's been, squishy everywhere, squishy, and, a bruiser basically in the jungle. So the Huni advantage is going to be one that we are going to have to watch. That one's going to be extremely important. Second one is Spica. Spica's advantage comes more from the fact that he is just straight up better than Jose Diodo. I don't care what he plays. I would be fine with the Poppy. If they're going to play, freaking Jin Zhao or Lee Sin again, or just something that can jump in, even the Hecarim, right? Then play Poppy. That's fine. I think, again, I did not have a major problem with the Poppy itself. What I had a problem with was the fact that the Poppy wasn't actually actively going into lanes and getting advantages in the early game, where Poppy, I think, is pretty strong into realistically almost any jungle matchup that's being played right now. So I like the Poppy. I think it's a great pick. If they want to stick with it, go for it. All I'm going to tell you is he's better than Jose Diodo. So it really doesn't matter what he plays. At the same time, I would love to see something like a Lee Sin or a Xin Zhao on Spica. I think that would be freaking awesome. I think he could skirmish with whoever he wants to. This allows him to have the ability to make plays, and allows him to carry if necessary. So, the top side advantage, I think, is substantial. I really, truly do. I think Kumo and Jose Diodo are one of the bottom ones. I think the Spica Huni connection is very strong. They were even playing together in the aforementioned Champions Queue, I believe. I know they were streaming together semi-recently from what I think I saw on Reddit. Either way, they're very good friends. I think this is a major advantage, and I think TSM have to push that advantage. I also am counting Kaido. After watching what I saw, I'm pretty sure Kaido can absolutely just smack Takui. Takui is much better in team fights right now. Getting buffed by both, his support and top laner has been very helpful to him. I think Takui has played even better than I thought, and I did think that Takui was going to be better than most people. But Kaido has also surpassed my expectations, at least through the first two games. And yes, it's a small sample size. Totally understand that. But what I saw was somebody who has the ability to take over games once they get a little more comfortable. I think this is a great game for him to do that. I'd love to see them give him counter pick, potentially even the very last pick. I think he plays so many things that it doesn't really matter. They can't ban him out. And allow him to take a lane advantage into whatever Takui plays, if at all possible. I don't think we know side selection right now, so I would love to see that. But I think these three players create a major advantage for TSM. And I think that can spill into something as simple as picking a front-to-back team fighting composition. On Mondays/Tuesdays episode, I talked about the fact that I would like to see us play team fighting, but I know communication is key for that. Well, there are very simple compositions to play that you don't need much you don't need much communication other than, kill, 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 or, player's name. So we'll say, I don't know, Jose, 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 right? Or Hecarim, 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 whatever they're playing, right? And I know that, Kaido and Shinji at least know the names of champions from the sound of it, right? Their English is getting better by the week, it would seem. I know that they are working very hard on it. I know Shinji specifically has been working extremely hard at it from what I've seen and heard. He's even just watching extra streams to learn, the language better. These two seem to be very hard workers, by the way. I'm loving that about them. But there are some comps that are like, I'm going to call it idiot proof, where you pick, your basic top lane champions, your basic, engage, bruiser type junglers. You pick your standard mid laners, likely, Rise Victor again, something like that. And then you pick a bot lane that is super easy in scales, right? You have heavy engaged tank, something like the Leona. Again, the Braum I wouldn't disagree with whatsoever. And you put a Jinx there or a Jhin there, and it's just front to back team fighting. That's really all you need. And instead of trying these 1-3-1 comps or these split pushing, comps or things that are more complicated towards skirmishing in the jungle, we don't need those. Just keep it simple, stupid, right? It's just it's that easy. And I think Chawi and the team were trying things that they didn't need to, right? Like, you don't need to see the Yumi on Shinji when Shinji is probably going to be one of the best engaged supports in the LCS. Give him engaged supports all the time. At a minimum, give him things where he can have an impact, where he doesn't just have to sit there on somebody else's champion and rely on their positioning. No, that's a big no-no, right? Or, for tactical, don't give him, a Senna comp when you don't have enough consistent DPS, right? Like, it's a much more, those two picks, specifically in the bot lane, were much more complicated than they need to be. Just make it easy. Seriously, just have them play any hyper carry, anything that they are comfortable with. I don't care. Xayah Rakan is super easy and very safe, and scales pretty well still. Let them play that. If they want to do something as simple as Ashe and some engaged support, go for it. Misfortune, fine. Whatever. Like, I don't really care. I know he doesn't for some reason play Jinx all that much, but that's okay. He can play Jhin too. That's fine. There's the possibility there of that. I haven't really seen an Ezreal, I don't think, yet, but that's a super safe front to back pick. That's fine with me too. All I care about is that whatever they give Tactical and Shenyi specifically, it's easy to play. It does not require any extra thought. It is something that they don't even need to communicate, and they understand how the champions work in most of the matchups. Plain and simple. So, yeah, that's what I want to see, and something that I think can be a major advantage for them, because I just think that they're generally a better team. So playing something that's super easy and simple should give them an advantage. The other thing is skirmishing. Yes, I know I said I want team fighting, but listen, this team does skirmish very well. We already saw it this like in the first week. This is kind of what we expected from them. I expect that to continue. I think that by the end of this season, they will be one of the best skirmishing teams, if not the best skirmishing team in the LCS. If they can solve their team fighting issues, then that's really all they'll need to do. The last thing is, I really do think that you can focus Takui's champion pool, right? Like, one of the big mistakes that Golden Guardians, I think it was the Golden Guardians game. Sorry, give me 2 seconds to confirm this. No, it was the first game that they played against CLG. I think one of the biggest problems that CLG did is they gave, Takui Zoe and, picked just the basic Victor into it. You can't do that. Takui has a couple champions that he is much better on than others. And if I am TSM, I look at this and I say, okay, where can we create our advantages, right? And I think if, Orianna's not really in the meta, so you don't have to worry about that. Syndra's not really in the meta either, so you don't really have to worry about that. But I think if you take away the LeBlanc, and I think if you take away the Zoe, I think he is extremely exploitable at that point, right? All that would be left would be Azir, Syndra, and Orianna. Those are very basic matchups that Kaido knows how to take advantage of with whatever he would pick, no doubt. And, this would allow for, in my opinion, this would allow for TSM to push their advantages. Now, I know Takui played a pretty solid Vex. Fine. Whatever. You play, I don't know, Vigar, or, you can just play something that sits back, like a Ryze with no dashes, or a Victor with no dashes, right? And Vex can't take advantage of, her passive and all the different anti-dash abilities that she has. Cool. Whatever. Like, I think that Vex is a champion that for some reason it really isn't getting played much in the LCS or the LEC. I know she got nerfed, but still, it's a little surprising to not see her as much as the LCK and LPL. But I digress. My point is if TSM want to create an automatic advantage for Kaido, which I think that they should, because I don't think you should be as afraid of most of the other players in terms of target banning, right? I think you can ban things that you just don't generally want to see. But especially if you get into the second round of bans and you got those two bans, just take away the Zoe and the LeBlanc. Don't even give him the opportunity to do that. Or if you're not going to play, or if you want Kaido to play the LeBlanc, which he's very good on, then you take away the Zoe and the Vex. This has to be an advantage that TSM has to take. You have to make Takui uncomfortable. If you make Takui uncomfortable, and you have somebody who's as aggressive in lane as Kaido, and who Spica is already saying is one of the best laners in the LCS, then I think you give yourself a major advantage. Plain and simple. So those are my 4 advantages that I believe that TSM have. The disadvantages, the things that we're going to struggle with against FlyQuest. Bot side. Listen, Afromu, we had a piece come out talking about how Afromu is like Chris Paul. For those of you who don't know the NBA, he's like one of the all-time assist leaders, easily one of the best point guards. He's one of the greatest leaders probably to ever play the game. Very unselfish. Doesn't care about his stat line. It would rather help his teammates and help the team, just win the game. Afromu is very similar in that regard. Afromu doesn't care about his KDA. Afromu does not care, especially in the last couple years, since he left 100 Thieves, he has changed the way that he plays League of Legends. And 2 of the last 3 seasons, he has played with Johnson. And guess what? Johnson has gotten better. Now, the Talking TSM crew, specifically Ben, won't allow me to take credit for Johnson getting better yet with Afromu and being a stronger AD carry. But I'm telling you, as this season goes on, this is what Afromu does. He makes the players around him better, specifically his AD carry. And right now, we saw Tactical and Shenyi just aren't on the same page yet. They are both individually, in my opinion, more skilled than both of their opponents in the bot lane. I need to make that very clear. But Johnson and Afromu have played together before. Johnson and Afromu are native English speakers. They are able to communicate without much of an issue. We are not. Tactical and Shenyi are still learning each other's mannerisms. They are still learning the things that they like to do. They are still learning how to communicate with each other. And we have seen players that are still learning to play together in the bot lane, and those who cannot communicate in the same language, it takes time for them to get better. especially when both of them are still young players. So for now, FlyQuest has an advantage in the bot lane, and I expect them, especially if they do, this cheese support top pick, to focus the bot side and to continue to try to give Johnson the ability to carry games as he has done the last 2 games. It's plain and simple. Creativity. They're also willing to really pull out and try new things. It's very obvious. They came in and said, hey, Kumo, you, sir, are going to play only supports. And you're just going to leave your lane and never go back there again. And we will find a way to win those games anyways. It struggles a little bit in the late game, but they generally have a pretty good idea of what they are running and how to run it. And I'm sure Aframu is leading the charge from support in helping them do that. And I'm sure Jose Dioto has a pretty good voice in it as well. It would not surprise me to see them bring out a Lulu top with Smite or something, completely unexpected. I truly believe that we will ban Janna probably in the first round of bans. If not Karma. We were already banning Karma anyways. Wouldn't surprise me to see us just ban Janna Karma maybe, in the first round of bans. So they're probably expecting that this week. They are probably, working with Kumo on new options for him to play in scrims. And we'll see something weird. I don't think that FlyQuest necessarily needs to cheese to win games, but I think they understand where their strengths lie and they're playing towards them. And I have to give the coaching staff a lot of credit for their creativity and ability to understand that, maybe Kumo is just better supporting his teammates through different roles than just trying to play the traditional top lane role. And honestly, they might, if the Smite, support is available the whole season, they might just be the team that plays that the whole year. And until a team comes up with a really strong counter, they might just ride it, until they lose, which hopefully will be against us on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Continuing on, they've had great dragon control too. And as we all know, that has been a struggle for us. We have had a total of 2 dragons in the first 2 games, including 0 in the very first game. I cannot overemphasize this enough. Dragon control is still very important. I don't care about being down 3 or 2 dragons, but I truly believe this. I've said it since last year. We win more games when we get at least one of the first 2 dragons. It allows us to get into our mid game, I think, a lot cleaner. And it makes it so that our late game prospects aren't just, oh God, we have to fight at this next dragon, and I hope we set it up correctly, because otherwise we're screwed. Control of the map is extremely important. I see that I made a mistake. That's supposed to say potentially macro. Sorry, guys. Because what I'm going to say is macro-wise, with this comp in the way that FlyQuest are playing right now, which is awesome, by the way, that they have their own style. Can we talk about that for a second? The LCS has teams that have their own styles that are working for them. Do you know how many years it has been since we can say that? So many teams just follow the exact same cookie-cutter champions. The exact same cookie-cutter stuff. I know it's the beginning of the season. Things will eventually start to become a little bit more standard. But man, it feels good. Man, it feels good that these teams have styles that we can actually kind of play against and discuss. The dragon control in the macro game for FlyQuest are going to potentially be a major issue for us. If we can stop dragon rolling early, and if we can allow ourselves to, I honest to God, just get Huni out of top lane as fast as possible. If Kumo is not going to be there, I'm telling Spica and Kaido and Shenyi, every one of you should be up there with Huni. I don't care about splitting XP. I don't care about splitting gold. It's fine. Get him out of there. And if he's, depending on what he's going to play, if he can play something that is going to, get rid of, burn these towers down, just have wave clear like crazy, then do it. Again, I really think Lucian might be a pretty good pick into all this. double AD carry. You allow Spica to play a bruisery more, and you have Spica and Shenyi be your engaged, tanky bruiser players, and you allow Kaido to be your consistent, AP DPS. Into a comp like this, I'm not saying you play Lucian all the time, but into a comp like this, I could absolutely see TSM just rolling. Just saying. But for right now, while our macro has been pretty solid, especially in the early game, because I think we do a good job at trading objectives where we need to, as we've had to at Dragon. FlyQuest is really good at it too. They're really good at setting it all up. They've been in pretty decent positions most of the time. And Jose Dioto has already stolen a Baron, which I don't know that he did very often last year. Except for, I think, against us in that first game, actually, funny enough. I'm predicting a win here against FlyQuest, guys. I think these are very exploitable things. I understand they're 2-0. I understand that we're 0-2. But these are things that seem fairly obvious to me. I'm not, I am not a coaching expert, right? I am your talking head, as they say. But I think if we dumb it down in terms of our comps, and we expect them to pull out something that is either unexpected or the cheese top, smite comp, then I think they play right into our hands. Like, I really do. And even if they don't, I think the Huni Kumo matchup is going to be exponentially important. Exponentially important, because regardless of what happens, Huni needs to be put in a position to carry this game. He is better than Kumo in the one-on-one. He is better than Kumo when Kumo leaves the lane and Huni can get the resources to carry. We have seen him do it when the top laner was actually in lane. So yeah, I apologize. I know I spent a lot of time on this FlyQuest game. I do find it to actually be one of the most interesting matchups for us. And again, I am truly predicting a win. There's no copium, hopium, or anything on this one. I think that we really should win this one. All right, Golden Guardians. A much different type of game. They play things a lot more standard, and they were one of the teams that were caught off guard twice this past weekend, by the way. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Advantages. Spica on the bot lane. Spica is better than Pridestalker. Straight up. Again, it's just an advantage in the jungle. We just got to get Spica the ability to get out there and find success, okay? He seems to just be a bit of a slow starter. That's fine. This is spring. I don't care as much, but I do think when he plays junglers who are a significant level below him, he needs to take advantage of that and push it. Straight up. This is one of the games where I think bot lane is actually better. I think Olay didn't look great last week. I know that he'll get better, but I just don't think he's there yet. And we know Lost. Tactical was better than Lost last year. Tactical should be better than Lost this year, regardless of who his AD carry is. So I think, Tactical's positioning is generally better. I think Tactical is willing to take fights in a more serious manner. And I think that if you pick the bot lane to be stronger, to have the push, I think Spica can go bot lane and have a great time, get Tactical ahead, get him more than one kill for the first time all season, and allow him to be a force on Summoner's Rift. I think it's that simple. And I think that Shenyi can harass and, push Olay out of his comfort zone. And, the one thing about Olay is when Olay is able to be in a rhythm and be able to get champions that he's super comfortable on and matchups that he's super comfortable with, and ones that, aren't as overly aggressive, he's very good. But when you push him out of his comfort zone, when you are aggressive, which we are, when you are willing to take fights at odd times, that's where I think Olay struggles most. So, yeah, speak of bot lane. I think it's plain and simple there. I think you either... And here's the deal, too, on this one. I would actually prefer Spica be given a champion that kills will actually be useful on. The one thing about a Poppy is kills are not very useful. In this game, I would love to see Jungle Gwen. I would love to see the Lee Sin. I would love to see Xin Zhao, Viego. Any of those picks. Yes, Viego is still relevant and can be played. If Spica needs to, if the rest of the team needs to sacrifice a little bit for Spica to be able to carry in, I think, a significant way, then let's do that. This leads into Skirmishing. All of those champions I talked about, realistically, other than the Gwen until she's level 6, and I mean, to a certain degree, depending on the matchup, she's still very, very good at skirmishing. The reality of the situation is it's gonna really depend on Spica, and I think the roaming of Kaido in this game to allow us to have the advantages in skirmishing. When we do skirmish, I do think that that's going to be where we will win. We've seen it. We've literally already seen it. I think that is what kept us in both games. I think in advantaged fights, things looked a lot better than I thought, considering the communication is really not there yet. It's just that they get it. I remember seeing so many failed dives last year, especially early on. I don't know that we had one that was a disaster in these first 2 games. I don't know that we had outside of the bot lane 3v3 in game 2 against a team that I am currently blanking on, Dignitas. Man, I always forget about Dignitas, even when they're decent. But, when we have the ability to have an even fight with less than 4 or 5 people, or even a 3v2, 2v3, 1v2 even to a certain degree, I think we play those very, very well. And until we start losing those, that is going to be an advantage to us. And until we find teams that are better than us at it, and I don't think Golden Guardians are, because one of the biggest parts about being a great skirmishing team is having a good jungler who understands how to skirmish in a serious way. Plain and simple, again. Got to stop saying that. Simple might be the word of the day. Our early game has been, I think, pretty strong too. While we haven't necessarily gotten major advantages, I do think we played 2 teams that I worried a little bit about the early game in, especially against Evil Geniuses. They generally had leads in most of their solo lanes and bot lane early on. They did not have major leads against us. It was not until Rift Herald throws that we really had a major issue, especially against in the Evil Geniuses game, which again I will repeat, I think is one of the best teams in the LCS. We need to push our advantages in the early game. Find a way to pick a lane, specifically I'm hoping bot lane, and push it forward. I think our solo laners are good enough to hold their own against literally anybody. I don't know if they will always have advantages necessarily without Spica's help, but I think they can at least stay in range or very much even heading into the mid game. And I don't think that's something that we had last year. Felt like Power of Evil was always behind in early game gold. And I think Huni got focused so much because teams were not afraid of early game Power of Evil or early game Lost that he was not able to play the way that I think behooves him the most. Let's focus on this early game. I think we can take it early against Golden Guardians and take it to them to find our win. Disadvantages are the solo lanes. Listen, I think Licorice is really, really good. I think he's one of the only maybe 2 or 3 better top laners than Huni. I think he showed it last week. I think he was not really the reason why they didn't win games. I think he didn't have some good plays, but there were a lot of other underlying issues, and it feels a little bit like FlyQuest again. FlyQuest 2021 for him, where I think people realize that they can maybe take advantage of him. But Ablaze Olive, luckily, while he had a bad week, we saw last year he's also another player who needs a little time to get going, but he's really strong, and I do have him still currently better than Kaido. I think he's somebody who can match him in lane pretty well. I think eventually Kaido will probably surpass a Blaze Olive, even potentially in the spring, if he continues to show what he has shown so far. But that being said, I don't think it's a major advantage for Golden Guardians / disadvantage for us, but I do think the solo lanes are where Golden Guardians are strongest and where they will put most of their focus. If I'm Pride Stalker, that's where I'm looking. I'm looking, how do I get Licorice ahead? How do I, kill Huni? How do I kill Kaido? And how do I get them behind? Because one of the things we have not seen from either of our solo laners is what happens when they get focused early and put behind. How do they respond? Do they int, or do they hold it together and allow the team to scale and find advantages elsewhere? The one thing that we can also say about Golden Guardians is they probably won't be caught off guard. As I had previously alluded to, they had the two strangest games, I think, in the LCS. Game 1 was the Cloud9 game with the Ivern in the mid lane. Game 2 was the Karma top lane from Kumo. Listen, you can cheese sometimes. Golden Guardians are not going to be a team, in my opinion, that is going to react well to cheese often. But after getting cheesed, and I don't mean cheesed in a bad way. I think they were two good strategies. I'll be interested to see if I will be really interested to see what happens with Fudge going forward. If they're going to continue to put him on these, I'll call them interesting champions, where LS is concocting some, master plan in the background. Maybe LS should have gone to Evil Geniuses. He's kind of an evil genius, it feels like. I think Golden Guardians had their fill of craziness last week. I don't think that we're the kind of team that can do that. I could be wrong. And I don't think that we will be able to catch them off guard even if we do pull something out like that. I think they're going to be ready for it this week. So, to me, that's a disadvantage. If we thought maybe, hey, we could try some of these cool new things, I think there's one team that got the brunt of it twice, 2 games in a row. I don't think it's going to happen again. Last one here is less jungle variety. Listen, I know Spica can play a plethora of different champions. What TSM seems to do, though, is we focus on 2 or 3 throughout a split and allow him to keep playing them to allow the players around him to have more of an impact and be the ones that have the variety. Because Spica, I think, can be good and impactful on whatever he plays, which is, I think, a major advantage for TSM. That being said, for some weird reason, Pride Stalker brought out the Kiana and the Zed jungle. The Zed jungle specifically did not look great. The Kiana looked solid. I really actually liked that pick for them. I think if they weren't playing against Super Shield team in Cloud9, then I think they might have had a pretty good chance, because it's very hard for a Kiana to burst through. Well, really for any of the champions outside of the Renekton on Licorice to actually burst through all those shields. So, I think that we're a little predictable in the jungle. I think that's okay. But I do think that their ability to play some weirder picks in the jungle might throw us off a little bit. That being said, I am going to pick another win. I think that we have a chance to go 2-2 here this weekend. I think Golden Guardians are maybe struggling more than we are to come together, which is a little surprising, to be honest with you. They seem like a team that's going to get there, but it's going to need its time more than even we are. Because, again, I don't think Licorice and Ablaze Olive were on their game last week. I think that's going to take them some time, whereas, the connection between Huni and Spica is already going to be there. I think Kaido just plays with an effort mentality in the mid lane, which could be problematic for Ablaze Olive, potentially. And I still feel like our bot lane has a major advantage going into this game. So, I'm predicting a 2-0 week for us. I think the Golden Guardians game will be a little closer. FlyQuest, I know, was our kryptonite last year, but this is a completely different team realistically, and I just think that we're going to be ready for whatever they're bringing out, and hopefully we'll see it in the draft strategy. So, yeah. Here are my thoughts for the weekend. Here's what I'm hoping. Overall for both games. Has our communication gotten better? If we can check that off, I mean, it's very obvious that our team fights are better, that we are setting ourselves up around, major objectives in the river better. I think that's great. Are we playing to our strengths? Again, specifically in the bot lane, I think they really need to play more standard comps. More standard bot lane, of AD carry with a, with a standard support engaged tanky support. I don't care that Kaido or that Shenyi can play these other picks. It doesn't matter. This is his first few weeks in a major region as a starter. He was kind of filling in with FPX, and I know that he played really, really well on a world's caliber team, but this is a different situation for him. Give him everything and anything that he is just very comfortable on. Don't try to get cute in draft, especially with the bot lane. So just play to their strengths. Can the lanes get enough of the lead to carry? I do think that this is going to be really important for us. We held our own. I think we were even in almost every one of our game, or in both games, up until a certain point. But Spica specifically was just kind of absent in the early games. I want them to pick a lane, try to get it ahead, and try to make them, get them to carry. I think we have carry players in every lane. Tactical can absolutely carry a game. We have seen it in the past. Kaido, I believe, can carry a game. The Victor game was strange. The Rise game was also strange because it felt like he was playing really well, but for some reason wasn't able to carry the fights. I don't really know where the full disconnect was, if it was positioning on our end or positioning, from him specifically. Or, maybe the build wasn't as great, I know, on the Rise in some people's opinions. But regardless, I want to see them. If they feel like Kaido is going to get an advantage against both of these mid laners, which I think he can, I definitely think he can against Takui, then, push that lead. Find a way to get him to have a major impact within this game, and be able to push us to victory. Because the split pushing stuff just didn't seem to work. 0-4 would be an extremely rough start. I think 0-4 would really, really hurt this team's confidence. I really, truly believe they need to win one of these two games. I don't care which one it is. I don't care how they win it. I don't care if they pull out Yuumi top lane or Yuumi jungle to win a game. I don't want to see that. Obviously, I think that'd be terrible, and I do think one of them works. I don't know which one works or did work during the preseason. I think it was maybe Yuumi top lane. I think that's kind of how they got to Janna eventually. But the point remains, I don't really give a crap how they win a game, but they need to win a game just to get their spirits there and to make sure that they're not in a really bad spot in the standings. Okay? This team is young. The one player who's older is not somebody who I see having a lot of mental resilience in a situation where the team is faltering in a pretty major way. All right, there's not really that voice anymore that will say, "Hey, we're good, we're learning, we're gonna figure this out." Right? They're all outside of Huni, 21 years or younger, and have less than 2 years of experience at the major level. They need to find a way to win one of these games, and when you look at the schedule, it's not going to get easier. Yes, they crossed off Evil Geniuses. That's good. But you're playing three of arguably the lowest teams in the LCS. The next chance you're going to have at this is against CLG and Immortals. Okay? Would love to see us get off to a great start at 2-2, but even 1-3, I will come in howling on Monday with excitement. I do believe both games are very winnable as well. I think that we can absolutely take it to these teams. And I think that if we play a cleaner mid game into our late game, and again, we don't just give up 3 dragons in a row, I truly believe that we can win these games for sure. We gotta learn to close out games, and we gotta learn to transition the mid game. But I think we can win them. Don't get cheesed. God, I hope they're mentally and I don't know, physically, I guess to a certain degree, preparing for weird stuff from Pride Stalker and from Kumo specifically. And even at that point, I would expect something weird from the other players. Don't get cheesed. I want to see a stronger bot lane. Kind of mentioned that, but I really do. I want to see a bot lane that really accentuates the 2 players in Tactical and Shenyi. I think a cool bot lane would be Thresh Kalista. Kalista's, I know, not super in the meta, but we know Tactical plays it really well. We know he's extremely comfortable on it, and that's a really good duo in the bot lane. One that's very impactful and one that allows you to take Drakes. I want to see those kinds of things. Let's bring it out. Last thing here. Apologies for the dogs. Last thing here is, can Kaido be the Week 2 MVP for us? I think he played really, really well in Week 1. I think he can do it again in Week 2. Especially if he outplays both Takui and Ablaze Olive this weekend, I'm going to be very excited about him. I'm already a lot higher than him, I think, than most people, but I really watched him. I was very much focused on him in Week 1 because he was the player I had the most questions about. They're not answered yet, but they are getting there, and he looked a lot better. So I hope that he can be. Last thing here is in the comments below, let me know, who do you think is going to be our Week 2 MVP? Even if we... I don't even want to speak it into existence, but even if we happen to go 0-2, who do you think is going to be our Week 2 MVP? Let me know. All right. With that, I'm excited again to be back with 2 shows, guys. I think this is going to be super fun. I'm very excited for this team. I know that we went 0-2, but this is like the most excited I've been about an 0-2 team in a really long time. I think these players have a lot of potential that just needs a chance to be unlocked. I'm not really worried about them individually either. I think it's going to be fun. So if you like this show and you like hearing me talk about this, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. I want to continue to push this up there as the #1 TSM podcast. And thank you so much if you've already left a review on any of those platforms. If you could leave another one, I would greatly appreciate it. Please share this with your friends. You can see me on Twitter at TGHRobertHaynes, or the Game House at TGH Esports for all new and interesting things going on in the world of gaming and esports. Lastly, you can head to the Game House. I'm going to have power rankings out probably tomorrow or Friday. I'm going to try to write something up for this coming week as well, my 3 keys to the game, or my 3 keys maybe even to the weekend. I don't know yet. I'm still working on that one. A little bit behind on the writing aspect for TSM, but as per usual, a lot of things to do over here. So hopefully I'll have some stuff, but go check out our TSM section. Go check out our LCS. We're getting more people in to start covering stuff. And if you kind of want to know what some of the other teams are working on or what you think they're doing, then go check that out as well. With that, thank you for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and Thursday, and it is still exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you all on Monday.